They called him the Feral King, the alpha whose wolf had killed 3 brides before the wedding night was over. Every noble house in the realm had offered their daughters, hoping to be the one to finally tame him. All of them had failed. All of them had bled. Seraphina Voss was no one, a debt-bonded servant scrubbing floors in a border fortress, paying for her dead father's sins. She had no wolf, no family, no name worth remembering. She had survived 5 years by being invisible. But on the night of the rogue attack, when chaos drove her into the king's private chambers, invisibility wasn't enough. She saw him in his feral state, more beast than man, more nightmare than king. She should have died. Instead, his wolf bowed to her. One forbidden night, one mark she never asked for, and by dawn Seraphina was running, because a servant doesn't become Luna. A servant becomes a target. Now, Kaelin Drakemore has issued a decree that shakes every pack in the realm. Find her, the woman with no wolf who carries the scent of moonfire. The reward? Power beyond imagining. The cost of failure? The king's wrath. And somewhere in the Thornwood Forest, Seraphina runs, knowing that the most dangerous wolf of all won't stop until he claims what he's marked as his. The stone floors of House Ashford's border fortress had worn grooves into Seraphina's knees over 5 long years. She knew every crack, every stain, every shadow where she could disappear when the wolves passed by. Invisibility was her only weapon, and she wielded it like her life depended on it, because it did. She scrubbed the great hall's flagstones before dawn, her movements mechanical, her eyes downcast. The other servants had learned not to speak to her. She preferred it that way. Conversations led to connections, connections led to caring, and caring in a fortress full of wolves only led to bleeding. Her father had taught her that lesson well, though not intentionally. Maddox Voss had been a gambler, a drunk, a man who chased fortune until fortune turned and devoured him whole. When he died 3 winters ago, choking on his own blood in a tavern brawl, he left Seraphina nothing but debts so deep she would spend 7 years paying them with her own flesh and labor. 2 more years, 730 days until freedom, if she survived. The silver locket beneath her rough servant's dress pulsed cold against her chest, the only thing her father hadn't managed to sell. She didn't know where it came from, didn't know why it burned like ice every full moon, or why the inscription on its face was written in symbols no scholar could read. She only knew it was hers, the only thing that was. "Did you hear?" A kitchen maid's whisper cut through the morning silence. "The Alpha King arrives tonight." "The Feral King himself?" Another voice breathed. "They say his wolf killed 3 brides, tore them apart before dawn. Beautiful as sin and twice as deadly. Every pack has offered daughters to tame him. All of them died screaming." Seraphina forced her hands to keep moving. "Not my concern. I am no one. I am nothing. I am invisible." But then Lady Ashford's sharp voice rang across the hall. "You there, the quiet one, Seraphina." Her blood turned to ice. "You'll serve at the king's welcoming banquet tonight. We need bodies, and you're presentable enough." "No, no, no, no. Don't be seen. Don't be remembered. Don't be wanted." She touched her locket, feeling its familiar cold burn. She had learned long ago that wanting things only led to losing them, so she had stopped wanting. But tonight, the most dangerous wolf in the realm would look directly at her, and something deep in her chest, something that should have stayed silent forever, began to wake. The fortress had transformed into something Seraphina barely recognized. Banners of midnight black and silver hung from every rafter. Candles blazed in iron chandeliers. And the wolves? Gods, the wolves were everywhere, their eyes gleaming with barely contained hunger as they waited for their king. Seraphina moved through the great hall like a ghost, her serving tray balanced perfectly, her gaze fixed on the floor. Don't look up, don't draw attention, don't exist. Then the doors exploded open, and he walked in. Kalen Drakemore was nothing like the monster she had imagined. He was worse, because monsters weren't supposed to be beautiful. They weren't supposed to move like shadows given flesh, weren't supposed to have faces carved by cruel gods who wanted women to forget how to breathe. Dark hair streaked with silver at the temples, a jaw sharp enough to cut, and eyes, gray as storm clouds, cold as winter graves, that swept the room like he was cataloging every soul present for later destruction. Seraphina's hands trembled, the goblets on her tray clinked together. His gaze passed over her. 1 heartbeat, 2. Then it moved on. She nearly collapsed with relief. Invisible, still invisible, thank the gods. But something was wrong with the king. She could see it in the rigid set of his shoulders, the way his fingers flexed at his sides, the muscle jumping in his jaw. The wolves around him kept their distance, exchanging nervous glances. "Full moon tonight," a guard muttered nearby. "Pray his chains hold." 3 dead mates, 3 brides torn apart, and he still hasn't found one who can survive him. Midnight came like a blade falling. The first scream shattered the banquet's false peace. Then came the smoke, the blood, wolves crashing through windows, their eyes wrong, their movements savage, rogues, feral and foaming. Seraphina ran. She tore through smoke-filled corridors, separated from every servant, every guard, every living soul. Her lungs burned, her locket seared ice against her chest. A door appeared through the haze. She threw herself through it. The lock clicked behind her. Seraphina spun, yanking at the handle. Sealed, completely sealed. Her blood froze as she slowly turned to face the room. Massive, dark, a bed like an altar. And there, in the shadows by the window, something moved. Golden eyes opened in the darkness, not gray anymore. Gold, molten, inhuman gold. She was in the king's chambers, and the feral king was already shifting. The creature before her was not a man. It was not a wolf. It was something caught horrifically between, a nightmare made flesh, bones cracking and reshaping, claws erupting from fingers that couldn't decide what they wanted to be. Kalen Drakemore's body convulsed against the stone wall, his spine arching at angles that should have been fatal. His claws raked grooves into solid rock. A sound tore from his throat, half roar, half scream, all agony. And those eyes, those molten gold eyes fixed on her with the hunger of a predator who had finally found prey. Seraphina couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't even pray. "This is how I die." He launched himself across the room, faster than anything that size should move. She saw death coming, felt the wind of his passage, smelled the copper tang of old blood on his breath. Then he stopped. Inches from her throat, he simply stopped. His massive head tilted, nostrils flared. He scented her once, twice, and something shifted behind those golden eyes, something that looked almost like recognition. The beast that had killed 3 brides slowly lowered himself to his knees, like a wolf submitting to its master. Her locket burned so cold it felt like fire. "What?" His voice came out shattered, human words forcing their way through a throat not built for them. "I don't know," she whispered. "I don't know." The shift receded slowly, bones realigned, fur retreated, and when Kalen Drakemore finally raised his head, his eyes were gray again and filled with tears. "You stopped it. No one has ever stopped it." They talked until the candles guttered. He told her about the curse, she told him about the locket. Neither understood, both were terrified. But when he reached for her hand, she didn't pull away. And when dawn painted the sky pink and gold, she woke in his arms with his teeth marks burning on her neck. A mating mark. Permanent. Irreversible. Kalen's eyes opened, saw what he had done, and filled with horror. "No," Seraphina whispered, touching the wound. "What have you done to me?" He had no answer, but she already knew the truth. Her invisible life had just ended forever. Morning light was merciless. It illuminated every bruise, every torn piece of clothing, and the angry red mark blazing on Seraphina's neck like a brand. "You're my Luna now." Kalen's voice was heavy with something she couldn't name. "By wolf law, you belong to me. The mark is irreversible." Belong. The word tasted like poison. "What happens now?" she asked, though she dreaded the answer. "The capital, the Wolf Council." He paused. "The Luna trials." Her blood chilled. Even servants knew about the trials. Brutal tests designed to prove a Luna worthy of standing beside an alpha king. Tests of strength, endurance, political cunning. How many common-born women have survived them? Kalen's silence was answer enough. None. Not a single one. When she stepped into the corridor, everything had changed. Servants who had never glanced her way now stared openly. Guards whispered behind their hands. They felt their eyes on her neck, on the mark that screamed her new status to the world. Invisible no more, and it was killing her. The fortress healer, an ancient woman named Orla, examined the mark with trembling fingers, but when Seraphina showed her the locket, Orla's face went white as bone. "Where did you get this?" "It was my mother's, I think." "This symbol," Orla's voice dropped to a terrified whisper. "It's Lunari, an ancient bloodline. They were supposed to be extinct, hunted to the last daughter generations ago." "What does that mean? What am I?" But Orla had already retreated, fear sealing her lips forever. Seraphina wandered the fortress in a daze, questions multiplying like wounds. She found herself outside Lady Ashford's study and heard voices within. "The attack was perfectly orchestrated, Your Grace. The rogues were released exactly as planned." "And the girl?" A cold female voice, one that carried the weight of crowns. "She was supposed to die with the others." "An unfortunate complication, but she's nobody, a debt slave, easily eliminated." Seraphina's hand flew to her mouth to trap the scream. The rogue attack, the locked door, all of it, orchestrated. She ran. Hands grabbed at her in the corridor. She fought, twisted, felt the chain of her locket snap. It clattered to the stone floor behind her, but she couldn't stop, couldn't go back. "He doesn't love me. His wolf needs me. I am not a mate. I am bait that didn't die." The fortress gates loomed ahead. Beyond them lay the thornwood forest, certain death for any human. Seraphina didn't hesitate. She ran straight into the darkness. Kalen woke to cold sheets and a scream building in his chest. The bond, that beautiful, impossible thread that had connected him to her, was stretched thin, fraying, burning like acid through his veins. His wolf howled inside him, clawing at his control with renewed fury. She was gone. His mate was gone. He tore the chambers apart searching for her, found nothing but rumpled bedding and the ghost of her scent. Then his fingers closed around something cold on the floor. The locket. Her locket. The chain snapped, abandoned in her flight. Kalen pressed it to his face and inhaled deeply. Moonfire and ancient blood. The scent that had saved him. the scent that was already fading. "Find her," he snarled at Theron, his captain. "Now!" The investigation took hours. Hours Kaelin didn't have, not with the incomplete bond driving splinters of madness into his mind. Every minute she was gone, he felt himself slipping further toward the feral edge. The trail led to the fortress gates. Beyond them, the thornwood. Certain death for any human. "There's more, Your Majesty." Theron's voice was careful, afraid. "Lady Ashford was communicating with someone in the capital. The rogue attack? It was orchestrated." Kaelin went utterly still. By whom? Theron didn't answer. He didn't need to. Kaelin found his mother in her solar, sipping wine like the world wasn't burning. "She's a servant, Kaelin." Morwenna didn't even look up. "A means to an end. Be grateful she solved your problem and disappeared. You tried to kill her." "I tried to kill a complication." Finally, those cold eyes met his. "Your little pet survived the attack, calmed your wolf, and now she's run off to die in the thornwood. Problem solved." The fury that erupted through Kaelin was volcanic. His claws emerged, his eyes blazed gold. For one perfect moment, he wanted to tear his own mother apart. But exposing her meant civil war. The realm would fracture. So he buried his rage, for now. That night, a decree thundered across every pack in the realm. Find the woman with no wolf who carries the scent of moonfire. 10,000 gold pieces, a seat on the Wolf Council. In the Obsidian Pack's fortress, Lord Varon Blackthorn read the decree and smiled. "Interesting," he murmured. "Very interesting." Kaelin mounted his horse at dawn, the locket pressed against his heart. "I don't care if she runs forever. I will find her, and I will spend the rest of my life proving that what I feel isn't need, it's love." The thornwood swallowed him whole. 2 weeks in the thornwood should have killed her. The forest was a graveyard of foolish travelers, full of shadow beasts, poisonous flora, and wolves gone so feral they no longer remembered being human. Seraphina had heard the stories. No one survived the thornwood alone. And yet, here she was, surviving. She learned to hunt with sharpened sticks, learned which berries wouldn't kill her, learned to read the forest's warnings, the sudden silence of birds, the snap of branches, the smell of predator on the wind. But something else was happening, something she couldn't explain. Her senses were sharpening. She could hear heartbeats from 100 paces, could smell water sources miles away. Cuts that should have festered healed overnight, leaving only silver scars. And where the locket once hung, a cold burn had spread across her chest like frost on glass, pulsing, growing, alive. The first time a shadow beast found her, she screamed. The second time, she raised her hand without thinking, and it stopped, simply stopped, like her command had reached inside its savage brain and frozen it solid. She fled before understanding could catch up. On the 15th day, half-starved and delirious, Seraphina stumbled into a clearing and collapsed at the feet of an ancient woman with white hair and knowing eyes. "Finally," the woman said, "I've been waiting for you, little Lunari." Her name was Thessaly, and she knew everything. "Your bloodline is older than the Wolf Kings themselves," she explained, feeding Seraphina bitter tea by the fire. "Lunari women were born to bond with feral alphas. Your blood calms the beast. Your presence brings control." That's why his wolf knelt. Yes, and that's why your kind was hunted to extinction. Thessaly's eyes darkened. Feral kings make excellent weapons when no one can control them. Your ancestors threatened that power, so they were slaughtered. My mother? The last known Lunari. She fled the capital pregnant and died giving birth to you. The locket suppressed your blood's call, kept you hidden. Thessaly leaned closer. But without it, your power is waking. Every wolf within 100 miles can sense you now. Seraphina's heart stopped. You were never nobody, child. You were hidden, protected, waiting. A howl split the night, close, so close. Then another, and another. Dozens of wolves converging on the clearing. Thessaly's face went pale. They found you. Run, Lunari, run now. But when Seraphina burst from the cabin, golden eyes were already waiting in the darkness, and these wolves weren't here to kneel. The word spread like wildfire through the realm. Lunari, alive, running, and every wolf with ambition began to hunt. Lord Varen Blackthorn was the most ruthless of them all, alpha of the Obsidian Pack, commander of the deadliest tracking force in existence. He moved through the Thornwood like death itself, methodical, patient, inevitable. The king wants her as a mate, he told his wolves, his gray eyes cold as iron. I want her as a weapon. Whoever controls the last Lunari controls every feral alpha in the realm. Seraphina ran until her legs screamed. She fought with her emerging powers, freezing wolves mid-lunge, commanding beasts to turn on their masters. But they kept coming, always more, always closer. Varen caught her on the 7th day. His hand closed around her throat, slamming her against a tree. Up close, he was terrifyingly beautiful. Sharp cheekbones, cruel smile, eyes that calculated her worth like currency. Little Lunari, he purred, you've led me on quite the chase. A blade sang through the air. Varen released her with a snarl as a woman burst from the shadows, fast, lethal, furious. She fought like someone with nothing left to lose. Run, the strangers screamed. Now! Seraphina ran. The woman found her later, bloodied but alive. Her name was Kira, beta wolf, small pack, fierce eyes. Why help me? Seraphina demanded. My sister was one of Kaelin's dead mates. Kira's voice cracked. I want answers, not revenge, just truth. They traveled together, hunted together, and slowly, carefully, Seraphina learned what friendship felt like. But the incomplete bond was killing her. She felt Kaelin constantly now, his presence like a hook buried in her chest, his pain, his fear, his wolf clawing at the edges of his sanity. One night, his voice exploded in her mind. Please, come back! I'm losing myself! She gasped, clutching her chest. Through the bond, she felt it, his control shattering, the madness descending, the feral shift beginning without end. If she stayed away, he would die, but if she went back... They're here, Kira's whisper cut through the darkness. Wolves surrounded them, dozens, Varen's wolves. Go, Kira said, drawing her blade. I'll hold them. Kira, go! Seraphina ran. Behind her, she heard Kira's battle cry. Then, silence. Arms seized her from the darkness. She screamed, fought, but there were too many. Varen's face appeared above her, triumphant. Got you, little Lunari. Now let's see what you're really worth. They brought her to a ruined temple deep in the mountains, a place where old magic still breathed in the stones. Torches blazed against ancient walls covered in Lunari symbols, and Seraphina realized with horror that she wasn't Varen's only audience. Robed figures emerged from the shadows, the Lunari Order, survivors who had hidden for generations. And sweeping through the temple doors like a queen of nightmares came Dowager Queen Morwenna herself, her smile sharp as shattered glass. Well... Morwenna purred, examining Seraphina like livestock. The little servant who ruined everything. Varen stepped forward, possessive hand gripping Seraphina's arm. She's mine now. I'll force bond with her tonight, claim her power, and challenge your son for the throne by morning. "You'll do no such thing." Morwenna's voice turned deadly. "She dies. Tonight, my son descends into permanent madness, and I rule as regent until the realm crumbles." "She cannot die," an elder from the Lunari Order pushed forward, desperate. "She's the last, the only one who can break the curse." "What curse?" Seraphina demanded. Silence fell like a blade. "When your grandmother, the last known Lunari, was murdered," the elder whispered, "she cursed all alpha wolves with her dying breath. Their power would turn against them. Their mates would die. Their bloodlines would end in madness. Only a willing Lunari bond can break it." Seraphina's heart stopped. She was the cure, the only cure. The temple doors exploded inward. Kalen Drakemore stood in the wreckage, but barely. His shift was failing, his body caught between forms, his golden eyes wild with approaching madness. Blood dripped from wounds he hadn't bothered to heal. He had followed the bond, followed her, through hell itself. "Mine," he snarled, and the word shook the foundations. Everything happened at once. Varen shifted, launching at Kalen. Morwenna's assassins drew blades. The Lunari Order scattered, some protecting Seraphina, others raising weapons against her. And in the chaos, Seraphina understood. She could refuse, stay free, watch him die. Or she could choose. "Kalen!" He turned, golden eyes finding hers through the madness. She ran to him, placed her hands on his face, let the bond open completely. "I spent my whole life invisible because I was afraid of what would happen if someone truly saw me. But you saw me at my most terrified, and you didn't look away. So I'm choosing to be seen. I'm choosing you." She kissed him. Power exploded through the temple, silver and gold intertwined, ancient and new, curse and cure shattering together. When the light faded, Kalen stood whole, human, wolf, finally one. Varen lay defeated, Morwenna knelt in chains, and Seraphina felt it, the bond complete at last. But as the dust settled, the Lunari elder approached with terror in her eyes. "The curse is broken, but child, do you know what you've awakened?" The ground beneath them began to tremble. The Wolf Council chambers had never seen a trial like this. Morwenna Drakemore, Dowager Queen, Puppet Master, Murderer, stood in chains before the assembled alphas of every pack in the realm. Her crimes were read aloud, orchestrating the deaths of 3 potential Lunas, engineering the rogue attack, conspiring to keep her son feral and controllable, attempting to murder the true Luna. The verdict was unanimous: exile to the wastes, a fate worse than death. As guards dragged her away, Morwenna's eyes found Seraphina. Pure hatred blazed there, but also something else. Fear. Varen Blackthorn fared no better. Stripped of his title, his lands seized, his obsidian pack dissolved and scattered to the winds. He spat at Seraphina's feet as they led him to the dungeons. "This isn't over, Lunari." She met his gaze without flinching. "Yes, it is." The Lunari Order emerged from generations of hiding, robed figures kneeling before their last daughter, pledging ancient oaths of service and protection. Seraphina accepted them with trembling hands, still not quite believing any of this was real. Then Kira appeared, alive, scarred, grinning like a wolf who had cheated death. "Thought you could get rid of me that easily?" She pulled Seraphina into a fierce embrace. "Someone has to keep you out of trouble." She became Seraphina's personal guard that same day. The formal Luna ceremony was nothing like the brutal trials. No tests of worthiness, no games of political survival, just recognition of what already existed. A bond forged in fire, sealed in choice, unbreakable by any force in the realm. Seraphina stood before thousands in the great throne room, wearing silver and moonlight, her mating mark glowing softly against her skin. "I was debt-bonded," she proclaimed, her voice carrying to every corner. "Invisible, forgotten. I know what it means to be powerless." She paused, letting the words settle. "No more. From this day forward, protection for the vulnerable, reform for the debt-bonded, justice for the forgotten." The roar of approval shook the foundations. Later, when the crowds had gone and silence filled the throne room, Kalen pulled her close. "You were never invisible to me," he murmured against her hair. "From the moment my wolf scented you, I knew. You were the one I'd been waiting for." Seraphina touched her neck where the locket once hung. In its place, the mating mark pulsed silver, warm now, not cold, alive. "I spent 5 years as a servant. I spent my whole life running." She looked out over the realm that was hers. "But now I stay." She had learned long ago that wanting things only led to losing them. But standing here, queen and mate and finally whole, she understood at last. Sometimes what you want is brave enough to find you.